Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I hope I'm talking to Management Science BBA class. The subject we are looking at is Principles of Auditing. We are handling Chapter 8, Internal Audit. Internal audit is an independent, objective assurance and consulting activity to add value and to improve an organization's operations. Internal audit aims or aids organizations to accomplish its objectives by bringing a systematic or organized disciplined approach to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of risk management, control, and governance processes. Internal auditing achieves this by providing insights and recommendations based on analysis and assessments of data and business processes. With commitment to integrity and accountability, internal auditing provides value to governing bodies and senior management as an objective source of independent advice. Professionals called internal auditors are employed by organizations to perform the internal auditing activity. The internal audit team not only requires expertise in accounting, but also in organizational behavior and functional areas of management. Remember that internal audit is required by law. That's why we call it statutory requirement. It is actually mandated as per a country's law. Such class or classes of company as may be prescribed shall be required to appoint an internal auditor who shall either be a chartered accountant or a costs accountant or such other professionals as may be decided by the board to conduct internal audit of the functions and activities of the company. The central government may by rules prescribe the manner and intervals in which the internal audit shall be conducted and reported to the board. Let's look at the scope of internal audit. Here, I mean the boundaries of operation of the internal audit process. And the following is the scope of internal audit according to the Institute of Internal Auditors. 1. Safeguarding the assets, meaning keeping them safe. Economical and efficient use of resources, using resources minus waste. Reliability and integrity of information. Information should be true from falsehood. Information should be true from lies. It should be correct all round. 4. Accomplishment of established objectives and goals of operations or programs. Let's look at objectives of internal audit. Below, okay, we can get the following main objectives of internal audit. 1 is to combat and comment about effectiveness of internal controls system in force. 2 is to give suggestions about improvement of internal control systems in organization. 3, to check and ensure whether policies and procedures as laid down by the top management are being followed or not. 5, whether assets of organization are properly accounted for and safeguarded. Just as it was said above, all assets of the organization should be kept under safe custody because assets are used to create wealth for the organization and therefore their safety is paramount to the organization progress. 5 is to ensure whether standard accounting practices are followed by the organization. 6, early detection and prevention of errors and frauds is very important for internal audit. Internal auditors will always detect any error or fraud in an organization, and by doing that, we shall be safe from loss. 7, to ensure correctness, accuracy, and authenticity of financial accounting, meaning such accounting will be trusted because they are correct, they are accurate, and therefore whoever is using them will believe in them. 8, to do investigation at the special request of the management. 9, to check whether liabilities of organization are valid and legitimate. Thank you. Internal check versus internal audit. Remember in the previous chapter, while we had a face-to-face, we said internal check is where the work of an individual employee in an organization is automatically checked by another employee to ensure effectiveness and efficiency of information in an organization. Today we are comparing internal check versus internal audit. Okay, they have similarities, but they are different. We are going to analyze this using basis and meaning. We are having on the left column internal check, right column we are having internal audit. The meaning of internal check, it is an arrangement of the duties of staff members in such a manner that work performed by one person is automatically and independently checked by another employee. Whereas internal audit is a review of various operations and records of the company by staff especially appointed for this purpose. Okay. When we look at the objective or the object of internal check, it's to prevent and minimize the possibilities of errors, fraud, or irregularities. And the objective of internal audit is to detect errors and fraud which have already been committed. The timing of internal check is such that internal check works during the course of the transactions, and internal audit begins after completion of accounting process of different transactions. Scope. The scope of internal check is very limited, whereas scope of internal audit is broad, meaning it's bigger than that of internal check. Staff of internal check. The arrangement of the duties is done with the existing staff. No new member of staff is required for internal check. On the other hand, with internal audit, separate staff is required to do the audit. We continue and look at the nature of internal check and internal audit. Internal check checks the progress of the work automatically, whereas internal auditors report to the management and suggest improvement about various inefficiencies. Involvement of internal check. A large number of employees are involved in the internal check, whereas for internal audit, for implementation of internal audit, a small team with limited members can also perform the audit. Let's look at the device. Internal check acts like a device and keeps check on work. On the other hand, internal audit is a device for checking the work. Let's analyze external versus internal audit by basis. okay, on the extreme left column. And then the next two columns are actually comparing external audits and internal audit. When we look at appointment of external auditor is compulsory by law of the land. The auditor is appointed either by the shareholders or by the government, whereas internal audit appointment of internal auditor is operational and he is appointed by the management like any other employee. Let's look at the status. The external auditor is an independent person. The status of internal audit, the internal auditor is paid employee of the company. Let's look at scope. That's the boundary of operation. Scope of external auditor is laid down by the laws of the land, whereas the scope of the internal auditor, his work and rights, duties, and responsibilities of internal auditor is laid by management. Okay, by management. So let's continue. The objective of internal audit is assurance about whether the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects and according to applicable financial reporting framework or not. Now, internal audit. The objective of internal audit is to serve the need of management and to prevent errors, fraud, and irregularities. Let's look at the pay or remuneration, how the auditors are awarded, both internal and external. Starting with external, remuneration is fixed by the shareholders of the company, whereas internal auditors, the pay is fixed by the management of the company. Duration is time for the work. External audit starts after the preparation of final accounts. On the other hand, internal audit is carried out throughout the year. It goes hand in hand with other activities of the organization. Reporting, when you look at reporting, report is submitted to the company shareholders. That is for external audit. Then for internal auditors, report of internal audit is submitted to management. Okay. Lastly, let's look at shareholder meeting. Shareholder meeting, when you look at external auditor has a legal right to attend shareholders meeting. On the other hand, internal auditor doesn't have the right to attend the shareholders meeting. Audit procedure for external audit. Mostly external auditors does text checking, whereas internal auditor mostly does detailed checking and examination of books of accounts and records. Lastly, let's look at qualifications of both the internal and external auditor. The external auditor must have the required professional qualification as laid down by the law, whereas internal audit professional qualification is not compulsory for an internal auditor. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The following lecture will focus on a complete revision of all the chapters before we proceed to the next level. Any questions can be sent to my email, as it can be seen from the slides that have been shared with you.